The government's proposing a dramatic and rapid change to our secondary school education system. It wants to kill off NCEA along with its credits and ratings of achieved merit and excellence and replace it with a new three-tier qualification system to assess students in years 11 through 13. A to E grades are back, as is marking out of 100, you'll be pleased to know. And 3 certificates will be on offer, culminating with the Year 13 New Zealand Advanced Certificate of Education. Erica Stanford is the Education Minister, joining us this morning for, I guess, some more details. That's where the devil lives. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you here.
Thank you.
Just firstly, the A to E grades. Is there an F?
Well, there may well be. Let's go through the consultation process. That's what this is about now. Going through and asking New Zealanders what they think about the new proposals. We've got a 6-week window open now, and they can have their say.
Because I never got an F, of course, so I'm not quite.
Not.
but presumably there would be room for that. I mean, you're going to be able to fail these, aren't you?
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Yes. But that's not the plan, right? Because that's all of our reforms, ensuring that children are where they need to be at curriculum level so they can go on to succeed in their qualifications.
Now, a lot of concerns have been raised in the last 24 hours since you made the announcement, which we brought to our listeners live. So, for those children who struggle in class, who've got learning difficulties or learning challenges, ADHD, all this kind of stuff, is there a risk that they don't get a qualification under the new system?
We've thought about this really carefully, and I know that there are many young people who struggle with the national qualification, even at the moment. But remember, we are keeping that flexibility of having and that balance of having internals and externals, which cater for lots of different learners. So it's not just exam-based, but we do want to make sure that children do sit their exams. What we have in this country is special assessment conditions. They're called SACs, which is a terrible name. But I have asked NZQA, the Qualifications Authority, to make sure that they are looking around the world to make sure that what we are doing here is world leading in terms of helping students with some additional readers and writers, extra time, text to speak, IT. There's a whole lot of things we can and do. And I'll give you one example. In the last 4 years, those young people with ADHD have accessed those special assessment conditions, 150% more than they were 4 years ago.
Right.
And those with autism has gone up 50%. So we will always make sure that there are special assessment conditions.
But is this about saying, actually, we've changed the system to cater to certain people for too long, and it's at the expense of the overall level of preparedness for students? You know, are you willing to sacrifice some students perhaps finding it a little more hard to keep up if it means that every student gets access to a better qualification?
I wouldn't use the word sacrifice at all. We want to make sure every single child is where they need to be at the curriculum to access this qualification, and that's why we're doing, as I said, all of these reforms. And if there are children who need additional help and support, we will make it available. Not only have I done this huge reform at primary and intermediate, which has changed the game in terms of structured literacy and explicit teaching and structured maths, but we're also putting in a huge amount of effort and resource into those young people in the middle. So you've got your intermediate school kids. Next year, tens of thousands will get extra maths tutoring. We're about to announce some more literacy help. So we've got a really carefully laid out plan, and it's very well structured and rolled out. But Kiwis need to have their say.
Okay, and the teachers have had their say. They're saying, oh, we're overworked. And a couple of them actually were commenting, students are anxious, as it is at the best of times. The last thing we want to do is put more emphasis on exams, for example, because you'll freak them out. What do you say to that?
Well, firstly, we thought carefully about that. We're the only country in the world that has 3 years of high-stakes exams. All the countries we compare ourselves to have 2. So we're reducing an entire year of high-stakes exams. But there does need to be a little bit of rigour in the system. When you live your life, you have to sit a driver's licence. If you're going into the trades, you'll need to sit your trades exams. There are always going to be those sorts of situations. We need to gear and cater for those situations, gear kids up for them.
You need to overcome stress in order, because it will happen in the big wide world.
We can't cotton wool our kids. We've got to set them up for success in life.
So what's your message to those teachers?
My message to those teachers is we've also thought carefully about you, and we're trying to strike the right balance between getting something in quickly, but also giving teachers and schools time. So we thought it's 3 years before it's coming in, right? And we've had our principal advisory group tell us that this is a really good laid out plan where we're sequencing it and scaffolding it in, so it's not all coming in at once.
Right.
Because I'll tell you what happened last time with the new level 1 that the Labor brought in. It was an absolute unmitigated disaster. and we have learnt from what happened.
All right.
And we're not going to repeat that again.
Are you changing the school leaving age? This is Claire Amos, President of the Auckland Secondary Principals Association, was concerned about the discussion document mentioning the possibility of raising the school leaving age from 16 to 17.
We haven't made any decisions on that. In fact, we haven't even considered it
So
seriously.
Is it not in there?
No, it's in there, but because it's a future thing. Because if you think about your very first level of qualifications really is going to be in year 12 with your certificate. And we know the longer that students stay at school, the better their outcomes. I don't want children leaving at the end of year 11. We want them staying through. That's why the foundational award gives them that confidence.
Would you prefer it was 17 personally? You'd like to?
I think it's something we definitely need to consider and we need to consult on.
What's your personal view? Would you like all kids to be there till 17?
I want all children to stay at school until the end of high school, personally. But I'm certainly not going to go out and consult on making them stay till the end of 18. But I think we need to have a conversation as a country. Are we preparing our children by the end of year 11 to go out and be successful? Are those trades pathways going to set them up for success or not? So we need to have a bit of a conversation about that and ask Kiwis what they think too.
Okay. Because clearly at the moment the answer is no. It's not working.
Well, if you look at the results of the ERO report that I commissioned at the end of last year after the unmitigated disaster of a rollout of level 1, they said, look, 60% of teachers don't think that level 1 is a good qualification. Most, I think it was 70% of employers don't think that it's credible. Parents don't understand it. It was, and we had schools leaving it in droves. I mean, the warning lights were flashing on the dashboard and have been for a really long time about the fact that this wasn't as good as it could be. And so
if you're listening to this as a student, like a year 9 student who's working hard, studying for their exams, studying in class, and you're going to be continuing with NCEA if you're year 9, right? What are they meant to make of the smack talk their qualifications getting before they've even completed it?
Well, there hasn't been any smack talk. I've been out there
saying...
saying...
Well, you just
NCEA,
said 70% of employers don't like it, 60% of teachers don't like it.
Which is why most schools or a lot of schools have now moving away from it and doing their own thing. NCEA is still a good qualification. My son is in year 9. He is going to be the last cohort, if we go ahead with this, going through. And we could choose the school he's at to do IB, and we will not. NCEA is a good qualification, and those young people in year 9, my message to them is you shall feel proud about your accomplishments. NCEA is still worthy. We are going to make it much better, more robust, more internationally comparable, give parents more confidence that their students will be, or their kids will be set up for success.
So what did you tell you? Because on the one hand, Mum's scrapping the whole thing. On the other hand, she's making you do this qualification over the IB.
Look, it is certainly a fine balance, right? Because otherwise the option is just do nothing. There was never an option to do nothing because, as I say, the warning signs on the dashboard have been flashing for a very long time. In fact, principals yesterday said to me, we've been waiting 20 years for this. So, yes, there is a balance, but let me tell you, there are many students who get into Oxford and Cambridge, and 2 students from Rotorua Boys just went to Harvard on NCEA. It is still a good qualification and students should still continue to work hard, but we will massively improve it. Trade some of that flexibility for more rigour, trade some of the complexity for more simplicity, but also get the balance right between academic pathways and vocational pathways, which are equally as important. We'd really want to strengthen those. So it is all about getting a really good balance.
All right, Minister, appreciate your time this morning. Thanks so much for coming on. It is the Education Minister, Erica Stanford.